Welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Carissimo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, make sure you're subscribed. If you're on Facebook, hit the bell. If you're on YouTube, ring that bell. Or better yet, go to tampaschool.com, drop in your email, and we'll shoot you out emails whenever it is we have content to help you grow your real estate business. And we are live today, so let me know in the chat. We've got Facebook loaded up, YouTube loaded up, and of course, tampaschoolrealestate.com. Drop a comment in if you have any questions on whatever it is that we're talking about today, or anything it is you're hoping to learn from these live streams. We regularly look at the comments and feedback we get, not just from our students, but even from our social medias, of what information can we bring to the table that's going to help you have a better real estate business. So welcome into everyone, and what we're talking about today are listing tips. So first things first, for anyone that's brand new, maybe you don't even have a real estate license yet, you might be, well, what is a listing even? What is a listing? And it's something you want to become intimately acquainted with if you're going to be a real estate professional, because listings, there's a saying, you have to list to last. So you have to list the last. And the reason why that's a catchy little saying that people like to say is because listings take 1/3 of time of buyer. Meaning that buyers take 3 times as long. So a listing, the reason why people say things like you have to list the last, this is one of the main key components right here, because if you want to have a lasting business, they're immensely more efficient than working with buyers. Now, you could streamline the buyer process. You could help carry buyers through that buyer process as efficiently as possible and maybe be able to be more efficient than the average realtor. But if you could be more efficient with buyers, why couldn't you be more efficient with sellers as well, especially when you're already looking at about 1/3 of the amount of time? Now, why is it that listing agents representing sellers, so this is who you're representing, so they're representing the seller, and the listing agent, the listing brokerage really as a whole, has most control. And the reason why this listing agent has the most control, not only is it their listing, where you're the one showcasing this property to the world, but you're also the one that's negotiating a cooperating commission. So if somebody already has a listing, they probably already have what we call a cooperating commission. A cooperating commission means you could log into the MLS, look up this property, and there's already a pre-negotiated commission established by the listing agent. Meaning if you don't have any agreement for your buyer to pay you any commission, at the very least there's an agreement from the listing agent that the seller has agreed to cooperate by paying this much overall commission, which this listing agent has also further agreed to cooperate by sharing that commission with whatever cooperating brokerage from the MLS brings a buyer. That's the big reason why the MLS is such a big deal if you're actually practicing real estate. If you're just earning referrals and you're not practicing real estate, you really don't need the MLS. But again, make sure you have a license. If anyone doesn't have a license, if you're trying to earn referral fees, that's illegal unless you have a real estate license. So call us up if you have any questions about any of this stuff where you want to talk to one of our advisors more directly. The phone number should be right across the bottom of the screen. It flashes up every now and then. It's 813-333-2676. You can call or text that number, again, 813-333-2676. We have an amazing staff of licensed professionals to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that they can in relation to launching and jump starting and taking your real estate career to whatever level it is that you want to get to. We have a little saying here. We say, build your empire, because that's what you could do with real estate. You could build a real estate empire, and for a lot of people, it starts out just with getting a real estate license and maybe working with a couple of buyers or getting some listings. The thing of you being a listing agent, these aren't necessarily your properties that you own. You know, you see home flippers, and the idea with a home flipper is they'll buy at, let's say, a home flipper comes around and they're like, okay, we'll buy this for $200,000. And 30 days later, we'll sell it for $210,000. Maybe 215, maybe 220, whatever the numbers may be. Let's say 215 to give them a little bit more money they may make here. And this is also assuming before any closing costs, commissions, or anything like that. But let's say there's $15,000 of money you make. But what happens if you buy it for... Let's reverse these here. Let's run through this one more time. So you come and you buy a property for, again, let's say $200,000. And then you sell it for $215,000. So then you have gross profit before expenses of $15,000 plus. But let's say you bought for $220,000 and you could only sell it for $215,000. You're going to lose $5,000. And that's the dangers of flipping. Any type of real estate investing that relies upon speculation, you might get these numbers wrong. It could be because of the market, or you know what, the market could still be going up. You might have just way overpaid for that property. And yeah, there's all kinds of safeguards like appraisals and so on and so forth out there to help you further understand the value of the property. But being an investor that's trying to flip real estate, you see a lot less investors even actively doing flips. You know, that used to be a much more popular thing, and it still gets done all the time, don't get me wrong, because there's plenty of properties where you could just even improve the property, and even if the value doesn't go up because of the market, just from your improvements, it could go up. Still a little risky, but less risky than just relying on speculation of just the value going up alone. But that's why you see a lot of investors doing rentals or short-term rentals with like Airbnb even, or even long-term rentals. There's a lot of talk about rentals, much more now than it used to be as it relates to investing. Flipping was kind of the big thing, but people realize, well, if the market takes a turn, flipping could leave you holding the bag, as the kids like to say, holding the bag of this $5,000 that you're losing. And the way real estate works essentially is, let's say we have a seller that comes to us and says, I want to sell my house for $220,000. We would negotiate a commission rate of, let's say, 6%. And 6% on $220,000, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the best at math. I might look like I'm good at math up here because I do a bunch of math all the time, but you'll notice I pretty much always use a calculator. And you can too on your state exam, because if you're trying to get your real estate license and the math freaks you out, you can use a calculator. And all that math is shown how step-by-step to calculate this in the pre-licensing course. And on top of that, if the math still freaks you out, it's only 10 questions, so don't let it. Don't let that be the reason why you don't have the opportunity to earn this $13,000. Now look, if we were trying to flip it and make $15K, we were trying to make $15K flipping. If we worked with both sides of the sale on 100% commission, now again, that's a lot of attachments to this here, but that's $13,000. And look, even if we split the commission 50-50 between another brokerage, so we'll divide this by 2. Let's say we didn't sell it, we just listed it, so our side for the listing gets about $6,600, and then the selling side for the buyer gets the other $6,600. We split it 50-50. Yeah, you're not making $15,000, but here's the thing. If this house doesn't sell, you don't get paid a commission, but you're not losing money. Whereas if you're trying to flip real estate, if you can't sell that property for more, and not just more than what you bought it for, but more over and above your cost, your closing costs, your expenses, you would have to have a lot bigger spread here to be able to walk away with $15,000, because even if you're representing yourself as a real estate professional, so you're not even paying out commissions, you're still going to have closing costs, title insurance, all kinds of things like that, where you would not be walking away with $15,000, even though there's a $15,000 gross profit there. So again, getting back to real estate brokerage, if you're trying, and that's why flipping is appealing to people. Flipping appeals to people because you're like, wait a minute, I could get $15,000. Or you watch the TV shows, I don't know, flipping Las Vegas or flipping this or flipping that, or we're going to flip you, or whatever TV show it is that you're watching where they're doing flips. They'll be coming in there sometimes. They're like, all right, we're going to buy this house for $400,000. And we're going to sell it for $550,000. And so now you're like, okay, wow, that's $150,000. But let's say they spent $120,000 in repairs. And so now, if they bought for $400,000, sold for $500,000, they spent they had $150,000 in gross profit, but had $120,000 in repairs. That's now $30,000, and that's also before we talk about closing costs or anything like that, unless that's part of this $120,000. Which, look, that's a big chunk of change. $30,000. How much would an extra $30,000 do for your life? But here's the thing: I'm not here to talk about flipping because, like all things, nothing is guaranteed, but especially flipping, because it relies on so much speculation, either speculation of the market, speculation of repair cost. Who has had to hire a contractor recently and notice it's significantly more expensive than what contractors used to charge? So maybe there's incorrect speculation on the price to repair. Maybe the market goes down and you can't sell for $550,000. Because if we lose more than $30,000 here and we haven't even covered our closing costs yet, we're going to be in the hole. We're going to be negative. Whereas if we're the real estate professional that's coming along to help somebody sell a $550,000 house, we went and earned our real estate license, acted with a broker, so we could broker a deal between a seller that does own this $550,000 house, and we're going to ultimately negotiate some sort of commission. Let's say it's a 6% commission that we negotiate. So now on this $550,000 home, at a 6% commission, that's $33,000. We got you beat there, flippers. Now again, this means that you would represent both the buyer and the seller, but I guarantee you that's a lot less work than flipping a house. And maybe you're not doing the work, but you're paying somebody else to do the work than if you're spending $120,000 in repairs. So the point I'm trying to make here is listing a property for sale. I mean, it's almost like flipping a house, but you don't have to take ownership of the property. It's somebody else's property that you've gotten them to agree to pay a certain commission in order for you to list it for sale. And again, if you get both sides, the buyer and the seller, then that whole commission is yours, minus whatever split you'd have with your broker, whatever it is based upon your broker provides you and what you've agreed to with them for your commission split. But even if this was sold by another office in the MLS, $33,000 divided by 2, if we're going to do a 50-50 split, that's still $16,500 on each side. And look, so even though buyers, it takes 3 times as long working for a buyer, working with a buyer, you don't even have to have a listing. You just have to have access to the MLS, because then you can tap into all these listings. Working with sellers, you need to have listings. You need to get sellers and get listings. Get those properties listed for sale. And that's what now leads for sales. If we're going to try to visualize this here of what this process looks like, to you getting a commission, let's put that over here because that's what we want. We want our payday commission. And what's going to precede the commission is the closing. The closing is what gets us our commission. And what's going to precede the closing is going to be a contract. We can't have a closing without a contract. And we're not going to have a contract without a potential buyer. And we're going to get a buyer either from one of 2 options. So either from our marketing efforts, and that's double commission, so that's awesome. But the reality is, most of the time, there's significantly more buyers working with other real estate professionals, so if it's through the MLS, you're still getting your side of the commission. And prior to doing this, to listing the property for sale, you need a listing contract. And the listing contract is what allows you to list it in the MLS as well as market the property directly yourself. And you're doing both of these things to try to procure a buyer. Hopefully you get double. Unless you don't care about doing the extra work to try to get double and you're fine just putting it in the MLS and letting somebody else sell it. It'll sell either way. It's pretty much guaranteed to sell at the right price in the MLS. However, any marketing efforts you do are not only going to help potentially get the property sold, it's also going to help make you look like a professional who actively sells real estate, which to other potential buyers and sellers, that's a very good look for you. So that's why you do want to make efforts to market your listings. That's why you'll see listing agents all the time posting on their social media, hey, check out my listing. No one on their social media is probably going to buy that house, but now all the people on their social media know that this person should be their real estate professional, that this person has real estate knowledge that they help. And in order to get a listing contract, you have to have a seller who is ready to sell. And that's essentially how listings work, how you get paid from a listing. You get a seller who's ready to sell. You have them sign a listing contract. You then list the property in the MLS and market it through your own efforts as well, of course. And there's little things that you're doing, like taking photos, measurements. There's all kinds of work you do as a listing agent on the front end. The buyer's agent, the buyer's agent is more so the one should be the one. It's really everybody's game, because if this deal doesn't go through, none of us are getting paid. So we all want to make sure we're all doing our part here. But really, this is where the buyer's agent is there to kind of, help make sure that their buyer is moving along through these steps. Whereas the listing agent, they're doing most of their work on the front end here, where they're taking photos, they're taking measurements, they're writing up a listing description. They're marketing the property for sale. They're doing all these things to potentially, again, procure a buyer. And the buyers are going to make offers on contracts. That's how offers come in. Offers come in basically as contracts that are half signed by the buyer, just waiting upon the signature of the seller. And once the seller signs off on that, we'll then have a contract. There'll be some contingencies that, as long as we satisfy all the clauses and contingencies in the contract, we'll continue moving towards closing, where we'll get paid our commission. So listings are not really that complicated, and that's why, again, it does take a 30 amount of time, is because it can be a very systematized, repeatable process. And you do have to make more work and more of an investment up front, because honestly, if you want the best photos, I think this is the latest iPhone. Maybe it's like the latest version of the iPhone. This takes great pictures. I mean, look at all the cameras I got. I got 3 giant camera lenses on here, and of course we're not shooting these on iPhones. We got these big fancy cameras in here. I wouldn't go try to shoot my own listing photos if I were doing a listing, even if I had all these cameras. The reason why is because it's not just as easy as point and click. There's a lot when it comes to the framing, the lighting, the composition, the depth of the photo, and things that can even be edited as well, where from a real camera you have a little bit more capability typically than even like the best iPhone or whatever your cell phone is camera. And again, even if you have one of these fancy cameras, you might not know how to shoot real estate, because there's very specific things to make something look good. But again, that's yet another cost. So there's cost associated to getting a listing up, because you're trying to market that property for sale. But the payoff is immense, especially considering you're usually getting the same amount of money. We go back over here to the money, and let's say you're getting $16,500 for your side of the sale, $16,500. Let's say you have a commission split with your broker. You might be on 100% with your broker. If you're an experienced agent, you might have a 100% agreement where you basically get all of this commission, maybe minus a fee, or maybe your client pays the fee or anything like that. But starting out, you'll typically have a commission split. And why? Because you're looking for value from your broker. And you're not necessarily guaranteed value just because there's a commission split, but that's usually the broker's justification for the commission split. Well, we have this commission split because you're getting X, Y, and Z. And as a new agent starting out, you probably need those items. Maybe, maybe not. We've done episodes before about choosing a broker. And again, if you have any specific questions, reach out to one of our advisors, 813-333-2676. But a good number I like to recommend, because people always ask me, well, John, what's a good starting commission split? Somewhere typically around 70%, where you're getting 70% of this. And the brokers may be getting like 30%, maybe 20%, maybe 40%. Somewhere in that range is typically a pretty good spot to start out. And again, that varies depending on what brokerage you join and what it is that they offer. What's important is that you find something that fits your business plan. So let's say you're going to get 70% of this. And remember, I can't do math, so I'm going to get my calculator out here. $16,500 times 70% here is $11,550. And let's say it took you, according to the National Association Realtor average, 8 hours. Just 8 hours. That is the National Association Realtor average of 8 hours of working time to close out a listing deal. To go from basically listing to closed. So we figure out how much we're making across 8 hours. That's per hour. After your split. Almost $1,500 per hour. Now, are you going to be earning that money while you're taking your course? No. Are you earning that money when you're out there joining a broker? No. Are you getting a paycheck after your first week of putting in time at your broker? No, because you're typically an independent contractor. But you willing to take the risk of going out on a limb to get this license, to going out on a limb to putting in place what is necessary to start a real estate business. And yes, you are starting a business, but it's very guided, because even after you graduate with Tampa School of Real Estate, we don't go away, but also you're required by the FREC to join with a broker. And so it's like you're a business within a business. That broker, that whatever commission split it is that they're justifying, they have a suite of tools, of systems, of processes, of marketing, maybe leads, whatever it is that they're providing for you to help give you a turnkey business. And I don't want to say give you, because you've got to give this to yourself. This is your business, and you are the only one who could go out there and pay yourself this much money. Go find an employer that's willing to pay you $1,500 an hour. Find an employer that's willing to pay you $1,500 an hour, and you've got this beat. But here's the thing. No one's going to be able to pay you more than yourself. Because you want to make more than this, you just got to sell higher priced properties or charge more commission. You know, if you get $1 million listing, there's a whole TV show called $1 Million Listing, and check out the market. There's tons of $1 million listings throughout Florida. So let's do the math, and let's say you get one of these $1 million listings. How much money are you going to make? Well, let's say there's, again, a 6% commission. Now, this is negotiable. Could be more, could be less. But let's say it's 6%. That's $60,000 in gross commission. But let's say, again, we're only doing our half of the sale, our side. We're just listing it. Well, that's $30,000 to each side. $30,000 to the listing brokerage, and then $30,000 to the selling or buyer's brokerage. We call it the selling brokerage because it's the buyer's agent who actually sells the property. We just list it for sale. The other agent sells it, whoever's working with the buyer. So we got $30,000 going to each side, and if we work with both sides, we get both sides of that. But let's say we just have our side, and let's say we're on a 70-30 commission split where we're getting 70% again. So $30,000 is what comes into the office. We're getting 70% on that based on our agreement with our broker. That leaves us now with $21,000. Now, just because this is $1 million house versus a $550,000 house doesn't mean it's going to take you longer. Maybe it will. On a case-by-case basis, some listings will take longer than others. But on average, according to the National Association of Realtors, which is the largest trade organization in the world, by the way, they have done studies to find that on average, it takes 8 hours of time to close a seller. So if you stumble across this $1 million listing, you're not going to be earning $1,500 an hour. If we take this $21,000 and divide it out across 8 hours, $2,625. Do you have an employer that's willing to pay you $2,600 per hour? Remember, this is hourly. Hourly. Because you're going to get a check for $21,000 in this situation here. And if you spent 8 hours working on this, that's $2,625. If you're bad at this and it takes you twice as long, that's still going to be, we'll roughly say about $1,300. If it takes you twice as long as the average agent, you're still making $1,300 an hour. If this is a buyer, it's going to take 3 times longer, so it'd be about the third of the amount of money, which at that point now we're probably in the hundreds of dollars range. Or actually no, because we're starting out with 26, 25. So let's say we have this 20, let's say it's the same split over here. 30,000 times 70%, that gives us 21,000 again. But the buyer's agent on average is going to take 24 hours. So we take this $21,000 here, but let's say it's now taking us 24 hours, because that's the average for buyers. You're still making $875 an hour. And that number could go up as high as you want to, as high as you can, based upon the listing price and the commission it is that you negotiate, and how efficiently it is that you work. Because just because the National Association of Realtors says the average is 24 hours, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take 24 hours to sell that listing. And thanks for tuning in, Amy. Glad you're finding this information helpful. Good to see you on the stream today, Mike. And hello to everyone else that is tuning in quietly today. Welcome in. Hopefully today's episode is helping you find out some more information about listings. And keep in mind, if you already have a license and you haven't done your post-licensing course yet, you will learn much more about actually doing real estate business, about listings, about market cycles, about farming, about prospecting, about generating leads, about converting those leads, about presenting offers, about presenting those offers to your seller if this is your listing. There's so much that you learn from that post-licensing course, and it's a requirement that you complete a post-licensing course by your renewal deadline. So if you need to get that course done, we have live stream, classroom, as well as self-guided courses that you can complete to not just get this 45-hour requirement done, but learn essential topics to help you grow your real estate business. And that course you could take as soon as you have your real estate license. So we're going to be right back after this. Stick with us. My name is John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate. So you just got your real estate license. How can you jumpstart your real estate business? The number one thing you should do before you do anything else is post-licensing. Now look, this is already a requirement, so you're gonna have to do it anyways, but here's why you wanna do it early. The sooner you do post-licensing, the sooner you're gonna learn the real world concepts in post-licensing that will help you create a business plan, that'll help you plan for your success in real estate. Post-licensing is all about real world topics that are usable, that'll help you grow your real estate business. And at Tampa School of Real Estate, we have the best post-licensing courses around. Find out more about how post-licensing can help you jumpstart your real estate career. Go to postflorida.com. Have you been thinking about getting your Florida real estate license? Look, the process is probably easier than you think. We break it down step by step, how much it's going to cost, what it is that you need to do to get your Florida real estate license. Find out all of that and more at licensefl.com. Again, that's licensefl.com. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Chrismo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday. Make sure you hit that bell icon if you're on Facebook or YouTube to get subscribed to the channel, so that way you don't miss any information that we have to help you grow your real estate business. You can also drop in your email again at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. But let's get into some tips. That is what we call today's episode, tips on listings. Here's the tip on listings, go get one. But look, if you don't know why listings are so essential, you won't go chase after them. You're like, I'm just fine working with my buyers, but if your business is not growing as fast as you want it to, if you're not making as much money as you want to, consider listings. And if you are able to put yourself in a position to earn a listing, here's some of the tips, which you've already actually talked about some of these things, but I want to recap some of the main things that are important with listings. So essential listing tips. Number 1, photos. And it pays to use a pro. Now, how much might a professional cost to get photos done? Maybe $100, maybe $200, maybe $300. Let's say they charge $250. We'll pick the number of $250. And you might be considering as a listing agent, well, should I pay $250 or should I just take the photos myself? And maybe you don't know that the cell phone pictures aren't going to look as good a professional, because that alone should be the reason why you'd probably pay the $250. Now, if the house is an eyesore, if the house is cluttered, if making the pictures more detailed is not going to do the house any favors, then maybe that's the case where the cell phone photos are maybe more warranted. If this is an investor special or anything like that, but even in those cases, and that's where, again, the value might not be as justified if the commission is smaller. But this also, don't just think about this of what you're doing to get this listing sold. Think about what you're doing to showcase yourself and your professionalism. If someone else could tell you took the pictures with your phone versus they see another listing, because they're browsing through listings, if they're thinking about buying or selling their home, they're going to be checking out what's out there, and they see properties with great photos and yours have terrible photos, which agent are they going to pick if that's something that's important to them? And the reason why I would say to maybe spend this is because the photos do make a difference. Absolutely. Especially if these are good quality photos versus average or below average photos. But a lot of people are like, $250, that's eating into my commission. Well, is it really? Because if you have a 3% commission, let's pull out our calculator. I'm good at setting up the math. It's just actually doing the calculations where I need to use the help of a calculator. There was once a time where I didn't have to, but then I graduated from school and I didn't have to listen to stupid teachers saying you can't use technology to get yourself ahead. Ridiculous. But anyways, your state exam, you're allowed to use a 4-function basic calculator on there. So if you end up having to reduce your property's listing price, because what do you do if your listing doesn't sell? You reduce the price. And we'll make that tip number 2. Reduce the price. Now, why is tip number 2 reduce the price? Well, if it doesn't sell, reduce the price. If it hasn't sold yet, reduce the price. If we're thinking about putting on the market, but your price is here, reduce the price. Because if you have a reduced price, it's going to attract more attention. And more attention is going to equal more offers. Almost guaranteed that more attention will get you more offers. And as you price the property up, it's going to get less attention because it's going to, number one, seem like less of a deal. And number 2, it's going to be priced out of people's price ranges where less people can actually afford it. And so if you're having to reduce the price because your property didn't sell, but it's maybe part of it because you didn't pay for listing photos, and you're having to reduce more than $8,000, you've now lost more than $250 in commission. So that's where, again, you have to think like a business person. This isn't just a job where you go do what somebody says and you're guaranteed to get paid. If you want that, that's where you're going to get a W-2 being an employee somewhere. And you're not going to have the best potential. Because when you take away that risk, it takes away the reward. The larger organization is going to have that reward and reap that reward while you get your steady paycheck. So if you want to put yourself in position to be in control, the best position in real estate is as a listing agent. Because again, you're the one that's in control of the photos. You could almost guarantee that you're going to get more offers, more attentions, more showings, more people at your open house by having more attractive photos of the property. What does that mean? Well, maybe the lawn needs to be mowed. I'm not saying that you need to mow it, but you need to have that discussion with your clients about these things so that way you can make the house as photo ready as possible. Because even if you take your own photos, having it photo ready versus not, your own photos are professional is going to make a big difference as well. That's going to help get more attention and more good attention, more attention that leads to people wanting to give it attention in person potentially because they want to make an offer. But we're still in a market where there's offers being made sight unseen. I had one of my new agents the other day. At one of my brokerage, I'm a broker. I hold multiple broker licenses, and we've got one brokerage where we specialize in helping new agents get started. And one of these new agents, she just had her first listing go live, and she had over 10 offers come in. And I can't go into details because this is a live actual transaction, even though I'm not really giving out any details of it. But she had multiple offers with a significant what's called appraisal gap. So being that even if the property doesn't appraise for this dollar amount, it's in the contract that the buyer has agreed to pay that extra cash out of pocket, and they have proof of funds to even show that. It's a strong offer. So we still have a really hot market, especially if properties are priced appropriately. You could go list your property out in today's world, in today's market, or yesterday's market. If you don't think today's market is good, pick the best market ever. You overprice your property, it won't sell. If it's overpriced, it won't sell. And in any market, a property can be considered to be overpriced. I've seen price reductions happen in the best of markets, and I've seen properties get sold in less than a day in the worst of markets. Because it doesn't really matter what's going on in the larger market, it's mattering how you position this property for the market it's going on to. And that's what you're doing as this listing agent. And again, the best thing you can do in any market to attract more buyers is make it look more attractive, more photos. And especially if this is a good-looking property and you want to do something that's really going to help you stand out professionally as a real estate professional amongst the competition. So utilizing videos and virtual tours are essential in this new world that we live in today, where virtual is no longer something weird just for the internet. It's literally for everything. Even when it comes to buying a house, we could do that virtually now. There's virtual signing agents, there's virtual showings, there's virtual everything. If you're trying to get your license, you could take your exam and your course and everything virtually. You could take an instructor-led course virtually. You could be in a cabin out in Alaska. As long as you got a good internet connection, you could do all this. It's crazy. So you have to take advantage of this technology that exists out there. And this is not just something that's going to help the property sell. This is third on the list because the photos are so much more important for helping the property sell. But this isn't going to just help sell the property. It's going to help sell you as a professional to any potential buyers and sellers who are seeing that video. And number 4 is having a strong, powerful description. Because this is your opportunity to tell the story of this property to the ideal buyer for this property. And if you don't have a good, strong description, you're shooting yourself in the foot. We'll put another one up here as well, because this is something, I don't care what the market's doing, you should always have open houses. You don't want to do the open houses? Find a new agent who will. Because I guarantee you could find a new agent who'd be willing to do an open house for you if you don't want to do one yourself. Because that agent wants the buyer leads as well as seller leads that'll be walking into that open house. Even if they don't buy that house that's being held open, they now know you and they could potentially flow you. Because if they don't know you, they can't flow you. They can't pay you any money if they don't know you. So this is an amazing opportunity to get out there in the world and meet as close to actual buyers and sellers as you're going to be able to get in one place at one time, coming right to you. It's like they're lining up to come to you because they want to see the house that you're holding open. So this listing, and this is why you've got to list the last, is because these listings are prized possessions that you want to showcase because it showcases you. This is your opportunity to really show off. They don't call it $1 million buyer, they call it $1 million listing. The TV show I'm talking about. They don't call it $1 million buyer, they call it $1 million listing. Because it's the listing agents that are in control. It's the listing agents who run the show. It's the listing agents who are the ones that are attracting attention and making this all happen, putting this out there. It's the listing agents who are the ones that are the go-getters, which is why the listing agents on average spend about 1/3 of the time that a buyer's agent will spend. And you don't have to be exclusively working with sellers. You can still work with buyers as well. Believe me, you're going to get a ton of buyer leads working listings. Which, if you don't want to handle those leads, don't turn them away, refer them away. And that could even turn into you building out your own team of buyer's agents to handle all these buyer leads you generate while you focus on listings. You know, real estate, there's so much you could make of it. There's so much that you could do. It's unbelievable what we've seen some of our students do coming through Tampa School of Real Estate and going on to get their real estate license. And from everything to just being able to make some extra money on the side, making an extra $5,000, $10,000 a year from selling a house here or there. That's usually what you make every time you sell a house, $5,000, $10,000. Maybe more, maybe less, depends on the price and the commission. And maybe that's all you want out of real estate, just a little part-time income. Or maybe you want to be one of these real estate agents on TV. Maybe you want your own Netflix special. Maybe you want your own HGTV show. Or True TV or Bravo or whatever. Every TV show, it seems like, has some sort of real estate show. Because people are interested in it. It's fast money. It can be very luxurious. It could be anything you make of it. It could be very rewarding. It could be so many different things. It could be whatever you want because you're the one that's in control. And you don't have to quit your job today to do real estate. You can take a class, get the license. You don't have to tell anybody about it. You probably should, because that's going to help you get business by telling people you have a real estate license, telling people you're in a capacity to help. But you could do this on the side. We have most of our students, myself included, I started real estate part-time years ago when I first got my real estate license. It's how most people start in real estate. So you don't have to quit your job today, but you will have to take those steps to take action to making your future a brighter one, because it won't happen to itself. If anything, you let it happen to itself, things are only going to get dimmer, not brighter. So take conscious actions today to give yourself the future it is that you're ultimately after. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. That's about all the time we've got for today's show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Tata over on Facebook, thanks for tuning in and commenting in. Everyone tuning in on TampaSchoolOfRealEstate.com. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to talk to one of our advisors more directly, you can message us always at 813-333-2676, or just call us at that number as well. Call or text us, 813-333-2676. You can visit our website, TampaSchoolOfRealEstate.com. That's TampaSchoolOfRealEstate.com. Or if you want to type less, just go to tsre.us. That's tsre.us. It'll take you right to TampaSchoolRealEstate.com. Drop in your email on that website so you don't miss updates about information that we put out on a regular basis to help you build your real estate empire, because that's ultimately our mission here at Tampa School of Real Estate. We want to help people build that brighter future. We want to help you build your real estate empire, whether that ends up with you someday being an investor or wherever your real estate license may take you. There's so many places it is that you could go. So again, 813-333-2676. It's all the time we've got for today. We'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and I'll see you next week.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam, because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.